everyone, another day, another share. Those of you who follow me will say, this is weird. This is not the same setup that she usually does. That's because today I'm doing a tutorial. So I'm going to back up and I'm going to show you what we're going to be doing. So here I have the block that I want to do, but I'm not doing it as as patchwork. I'm going to do it as paper piecing. So these are all the pieces that I have prepped, and obviously they're really much bigger than what I need, because that's what we need. Now I'm just going to pick these up quickly because now I'm going to show you how we're going to go ahead and do this paper piecing block. Okay, so I've taken a traditional block. This block is called double monkey wrench, and I've taken a traditional double block and I have turned it into a paper piecing pattern. So this is the pattern, like this. So the blues will go here, the reddish pinks will go here, and then the background is all where the white is. And I have pre-folded this. So for those of you who have seen my tutorial on a new way of doing paper piecing, you can take a look. It's on these little tiny houses, so you can go take a look. I'll put a link down below for that. So in the meantime, this is the pieces. So I've just rough cut these out, and then I'm going to start prepping these. So where I want to start is, I like to start in the center. You can start on the side and work across because the numbers on the pattern are that way. But I have a tendency to start in the center because I want to work out, because I like my seams to go in a certain direction. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on the back, and I'm going to iron it on. All right, so that's ironed on, and then I'm going to do this blue and then this blue. I don't know if you can see, but anyways, so I'm just going to, I find these setups for tutorials difficult because I film everything by myself and all in one swipe. I'm not set up to do above and below and sideways and everything. So I'm going to take a blue, and I've cut with my 1/4 inch, at a 1/4 inch ruler, I've cut it so I can have a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I'm just going to match these up, and I'm going to go ahead and sew. Actually, I need to change my foot. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, if there's any gentlemen watching. Okay, so I'm using the foot that has a guide on it, a little black guide. And I've shown that in the last tutorial. And I line that guide up against the paper. I do not sew through my paper. I sew with a regular stitch, and I just sew beside the paper. You have to do this technique, you really do have to be careful so your paper doesn't come off. I use freezer paper, and I iron my pieces down onto the freezer paper. Hold on. So that's ironed on. Now I'm going to go and do the blue on this side here. So I'm going to fold this back, and I'm going to cut off the excess. I'm going to grab a blue, right sides together, and I will sew along and beside the paper. That's why I like to have my foot on that has the little guide, because this way I know that I can just sew along the side of the paper. Now, I don't know if you can see, but I'm just sewing right along this paper. And now I'm going to flip this up, and then I'm going to flip this up and iron it. Now, I like to iron in between each seam when I do paper piecing for a couple of reasons. One is that I want to stick it to the freezer paper. Two, I want to make sure that this is ironed nicely. Okay? So I'm just going to put that away before I lose it. Now I'm going to put on the last two pieces. And as you can see, I have a lot of excess here. And I have a tendency to give myself more fabric than I really need, because it's very frustrating to not have enough. So I always calculate and put more than I need. All right, so the next piece is this white piece, this background fabric, and it's white right sides together. And I sew again along the edge of the paper, not in the paper, but beside the paper. And that is done. And I'm going to iron that and do the other side and move on to the other pieces. So again, I'm going to fold this back. Now I have taken the time to make this folding back easier. I have taken the time to pre-fold both ways on all the seams, on all the solid black lines. So all these lines here, I've taken the time to fold them this way and then fold them the other way. So this way it's really easy to fold them back and get ready for your next piece. So I'm going to go ahead and grab another one and sew these together. I really like this paper piecing method because I don't have any problems pulling off my paper after, because I haven't sewn through it. And I can use the paper, if I'm careful with my ironing, and I don't over iron everything, then I can use the paper very easily a second, maybe even a third time. Okay, so now we are going to square this. So now everything's too big, right? So I have a little, it's hard to see, but there's a little dotted line there. And I'm going to cut on that dotted line. This is the sewing line that my finger's on. The solid line is the sewing line. And we need to add a 1/4 inch. And you see that my fabric goes beyond the paper. Okay, so I know that I have plenty to work with there. So I'm going to go ahead and I've got to stand up for this or I'm going to mess it up. Okay, so that's waist. And then I'm going to go and do this side. That's waist. When you do this method, some people say, oh, there's so much waste, but really there isn't. There's that for a section. I have 2 more sections to make. There we go. And there, that one's ready. Okay, I'm just going to put this aside and I'm going to start working on the next one. So now the next one, I have these 2 strips and then I have these half square triangles. So I'm going to put on this one first, then that one, And then I'm going to do this one, then this, and this. Okay? So, the first one to go on will be the blue. So I want to make sure that my fabric comes past this line, because I need to make sure that I have enough fabric to be able to cut my 1/4 inch, right? And I also want it past here, so I have a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to center it, and I also want it past here and past down here. So I'm going to center it and iron it down. Okay? So now it's ironed down. So now I'm going to pull this line here because I have to put this fabric. So I'm going to pull it back, and I'm going to cut the excess off with my add a 1/4 inch ruler. I like to use a small 20, I think this is 28, yeah, 28 millimeter rotary cutter. It's just easier to handle for small cuts like that. It's just better to have smaller tools for smaller jobs. Okay, so now I'm going to put the white on. Same method as before, just sewing along beside the paper, not in the paper. And then just make sure that you have a hold of all the fabrics and the paper so it doesn't come undone, come away from the paper. Now I'm going to go ahead and iron that. Okay, so it's now ironed. Those two pieces are on. Now the next piece is this piece and this piece. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to pull this back just like this, and I'm going to cut a 1/4 inch from the paper. And then I'm going to grab, I got to figure this out. Hold on. Okay, so it's like this. There we go. And I just sew along. Not in the paper, beside the paper. And I'm going to go ahead and iron that. And it's perfect. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the next one, the next red. That's not a good cut. Yeah, that's as good as it's gonna get. A little wonky. Okay, so I need to open this up so I know what I'm doing. Okay, so it goes on like that. Enough. Just going to move this up just a sliver. All right, just moved it up a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to iron that into place. That looks good. Now I need to put on the two last pieces, which are in white. And I'm going to pull that back and add a 1/4 inch. Cut this. And then I'm going to take my white piece and make sure that I have added this on correctly. And yes, that's right. And then I'm going to just go ahead and iron that. Or sew that, sorry, not iron, sew. There we go. And fold that back and iron it down. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut the other side. And add on one of the background triangles. Go. And now we're going to iron this. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I want to cut off the excess. It looks quite weird here because I have to cut off quite a bit. I left quite a bit of paper here, so it looks quite weird here because I've cut it so I'm covering all the paper. We don't need it that high, but that's what it comes. I'm going to stand up to do this. And now we're just going to cut. The excess. And then a little bit here, there's just a little bit of extra paper that I don't want, and extra fabric obviously, because I always go past the paper when I'm doing English paper piecing. Or not English paper, paper piecing. Ooh! All right, so I am going to see how lovely I have my 1/4 inch right there, right here and here. So this is going to go together perfectly. But what I'm going to do is, because this is taking long, I still have one more side to do. But what I want to do is I want to put these guys together. That's what I want to do. I want to put these guys together. So I'm going to peel, look how easy this is. I'm going to peel that paper off, and I'm going to peel this paper off, and I'm going to line up. And I actually am going to use some pins because I want to make sure that I match that and that, and that looks like it's going to line up there just perfect. And I'll go ahead and match up this. This all lines up nicely. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and sew a 1/4 inch. Now I have to change my foot to do this, and just carefully sewing a 1/4 inch. Now some of you are probably cringing and saying, oh my god, she's sewing over her pins. I sew over my pins all the time. You just have to make sure that they're straight, and sometimes you might have to slow down before you get to the pins. So I'm going to take this off, and you're going to see, and this pattern is going to be available for free on my website. Hopefully by the time this airs, it will be up, and you can download it for free and have some fun with a different, taking an old tradition and an old traditional block and piecing them together. So there's half of it. I still have this half to do. So when I come on the next other day, another share, I'm going to show you this block. This block is going to be 6x6 finished, and I used the cookbook fabric collection from Holt. So it's a very cute line of fabric. And like I said, this pattern will be available on my website for free under free patterns. And I thought it kind of came to me. I liked the idea of taking a traditional block and piecing it. And this way you can do much smaller blocks. Like I said, this is a 6x6, so finished. So it's 6.5 by 6.5, including seam allowance. And you can go ahead and quickly do up a whole bunch, and you can use scraps to do this quilt, or you can buy fabrics to make it much bigger. You can sash them up, you can do whatever, and you've got a traditional block done by paper piecing, and then you can't go wrong, and you can go small. Okay, so right now I've designed the 6x6. I might put a 4x4 up for free because I can, and you might enjoy doing smaller ones. But that's what it is so far. I still have another one. I will show this I'll show this finished on the next other day, another share. And I think I will do more of these blocks in different style blocks with this method. Traditional blocks done by paper piecing. That would be interesting. All right. Happy quilting. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.